Welcome everybody to our community hosted event, The Road Ahead. We have an exciting session planned today. We'll be covering the MyGeotab map and user onboarding with one of our senior product managers, Shada. And then we will go with one of our senior product managers, Sajad, to talk about the Geotab Data Connector and the exceptions page. This is going to be a very informative session, so we want you to have the opportunity to ask questions as we go throughout. Make sure you ask these questions in the question function and not just in the chat, because if they're in the chat, we may miss them, and we want to make sure we get answers to all of your questions today. We're going to be stopping after each section to open up a Q&A. We'll do, maybe a 5-6 minute Q&A, and any questions that we don't get an opportunity to answer today live on the call, we will follow up with those answers in the community. So feel free, put as many questions as you want in there, and we will try to answer all those questions here, but then we'll definitely follow up early next week with the rest of the answers. If you have any coworkers that are unable to attend today, no worries, we are recording this session, so this will get shared with you early next week, and anybody that registered for the event, they also will get this shared with them. So they can stay in their important meeting if they're there, and we will get this video to them. So without any further ado, let's welcome Shada onto the stage with a virtual round of applause. Yay, Shada! Thanks for being here with us today.
Hi, Ishi. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and welcome everyone. So maybe I'll just jump right in. Good afternoon. My name is Shada, and I'm a product manager here at Geotab. And I want to start by just acknowledging upfront that I understand how disruptive change can be, particularly when you're operating under tight deadlines and immense pressure. And at Geotab, we spend countless hours listening and learning from you. So we understand just how vital your work is to the communities that you serve. Whether you're dispatching ambulance in an emergency or meticulously maintaining electrical grids to ensure uninterrupted power or managing complex logistics that keep businesses running, your daily operations are the backbone of essential services. And we've seen firsthand how unexpected changes, even those intended to be beneficial, can throw you off. However, I'm here today to assure you that the transformations that we're implementing are not just arbitrary. They're meticulously designed to directly address past frustrations and pain points that you have raised. Our goal is to streamline your daily operations, enhance efficiency, and ultimately empower you to perform critical tasks with greater ease and less friction. These changes are an investment into your success, aiming to make your interaction with MyGeotab more intuitive, robust, and ultimately more supportive of the incredible work you do every single day. For years, this map has been the central hub of your MyGeotab experience, but we've consistently heard your feedback. Zooming can feel unintuitive. The key features, though powerful, were either buggy or maybe simply hidden or undiscoverable. And this made essential tasks slower and more frustrating than they needed to be. So our goal was to give you intuitive control and clearer insights into the whereabouts of your assets and drivers on the map. With this new map, we start you off by showing you where all of your assets are on the map with the ability to filter down to find exactly what you need. Unfortunately, there we go. You can see the GIF here moving on the screen. So essentially, you have robust filters, you have, yes, you can. Okay. Essentially, you have robust filters and you have an updated toolbar with a scope search. And as you can see here, I searched for Bluey, and with the redesigned asset drawers, you have critical actions that are available right here, such as share asset location. So as you can see here, I've selected share asset location, and we've now provided you with more flexibility with this feature, allowing you to select the amount of time a link will be live from and expire to using a date picker. And the destination field is now no longer mandatory. So you can see right here, you won't have to be digging for essential functions. They will be placed intuitively for maximum efficiency. Another example is that we've placed the ability to add routes or add zones directly on the map on the very right-hand side, where you currently zoom in and out of the map. So it's really easy for you to access these features without having to dig for them. In addition, we've made it easier for you to access key information seamlessly through more layer options. So as you can see here, you now have the ability to hide layers to eliminate noise and allow you to focus on creating zones, for example. And you just have greater control over what it is that you would see on the map. And after you've fiddled around with all your filters and your layers and all those settings, you can actually save those as a save view. So we've really improved the save view function to let you instantly load your personalized map configurations. And so this would prevent you from having to fiddle around with these settings every time you leave and reload the map. Now let's talk about getting new team members up to speed. We've often heard that logging into MyGeotab for the first time could feel overwhelming. Users didn't know where to start, and it took too long to become productive. It often required formal time-consuming training sessions as well. And this delayed their ability to contribute and limited your return on your telematics investment. So to solve for this, we've introduced a self-serve personalized onboarding experience designed to get new users productive faster ever than before. Some of you may have already experienced this, as it did roll out for newly created databases in 2024, but it will now be available for all databases in the coming weeks. So here's how, let's see, looks like things aren't appearing as they should be here. Interesting. Ishi, would it be okay if I were to maybe reload?
Is it your GIF that's not working?
Yeah, it looks like my slides aren't refreshing here, but
You can refresh the page. Try to refresh that page, and that might work.
Refresh the page. Okay, let's try that.
That your presentation is on.
Yeah. All right. Let's give that one more crack. There you go. Thank you for that. So essentially, yeah, we've refreshed new user onboarding so that new users have access to all the relevant training and onboarding materials that they need with a click of a button. So what that looks like is users will, when they log in for the first time, will be asked a simple question around their job priorities. And once they select those job priorities, they will be given quick start guides that give them step-by-step directions in terms of what it is that they need to know and be aware of in MyGeotab. So no more running blind. Users will have the ability to hit the ground running from day one. All right. And what's really nice is that they'll actually be able to access these tutorials from our new Geotab Academy. So they can have these tutorials available and follow them step by step on a different tab, and they could actually implement changes in MyGeotab in parallel. So this will be an added benefit. So all of the changes that we're making for new user onboarding will also benefit existing users of MyGeotab, and those are specifically the changes that are being implemented on the dashboard. So we've implemented interactive dashboard charts on the dashboard. And what's nice is that if a new user is onboarding and the database is new, there's no data flowing in just yet, these interactive charts will be preloaded with sample data. So they will have an idea of the value that they will be able to extract from MyGeotab without, even before data is flowing in. But once the right amount of data flows in, those charts will refresh. And as you can see here, we've also included a new capability that allows users to view all of the charts that are available within a database, and they are categorized by the pillar that they're related to, and you could easily show and hide them from the dashboard just from this modal. And I think the change that will impact everyone is this ability to easily duplicate charts. So as you can see here, I was able to select a chart and using the little drop down on the chart itself, I was able to hit duplicate chart. It brought me here, and I'm fiddling around with all of the settings and configurations so that I can have this particular active engine faults chart appear for a specific group of my assets. And I can duplicate this chart as many times as I want to, so that I can compare data across different groups or different regions and so on. So this is another benefit of this update for new users as well as all users of MyGeotab. So in summary, we're providing a lot of enhancements to both the map and the dashboard that will benefit both new users and existing users of Geotab. All of these are meant to create a more streamlined and efficient experience. And I would love for the folks here to reach out if you have any feedback and questions. You could use this QR code or there will be a link to my booking to book time with me to provide feedback whenever you wish. So thank you so much for your time, and I'm open to questions if there are any.
That was a great presentation, Shada. Thanks for all the information that you shared with us today. There's some cool changes coming about. I had a couple questions that came in that we'll go through here. So Mike was asking if the current beta map trial is going to be this new experience, or are there any additional changes to the beta or like changes you spoke about here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the map that is currently in beta, I believe it's called the new map toolbar, is going to be the map that becomes a new standard. And over the past year, we've been implementing changes incrementally based on the feedback that you've provided us. So yeah, I mean it has been improving little by little over time, and we do expect to continuously improve it over time once it does launch as your new standard. That is actually happening as we speak. The rollout is currently occurring right now. So it may already be your new standard.
Awesome. All right. So I had another question about the dashboard. So if the dashboard's displaying like the sample data for like a new database, is there a label on there, something telling them that this is just sample data, this isn't actually your fleet?
Yes, that's right. So we've the design affordances that have been applied here provide users with the signal that the data is sample data. It's essentially grayed out to make it clear that the data is not their data. And then once enough data flows in and the sample data converts into real data, it's not grayed out any longer. So it should be clear as to what's real and what's not.
Okay,
If you
awesome.
have any feedback on that, happy to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you guys have any feedback, please let us know what you think would be, some good feedback there. So I had another question from Thomas. Is it possible to have the asset show like different colors, have each asset like it be a different color like in the past?
That is a very good question. So I do want to mention that everything that I've talked about today is just the beginning. We have so much of your feedback that we want to implement, and that is one of them. We'd love to bring back color to the map. We want to give you more controls over the icons that are used and the color. And, we want to be able to represent various asset types because, you could have vehicles, you could have equipment and so on. So this is definitely something we're actively working on. In terms of timeline, I may not be able to tell you exactly when we'll be able to deliver on that, but it's definitely on the roadmap. And we're aiming to get that over the line before the end of the year.
Awesome. Thank you for those answers. We do have too many questions to go through. I see you guys asking lots of questions. We will make sure we follow up with answers to all these questions. I did see some questions about if this presentation is going to be mailed out. Yes. So the recording of this webinar as well as the presentations will be emailed to you and anybody else that registered, just to make that clear for people asking. And I don't know if you may know this off the top of your head. Do you know what version of MyGeotab these changes are in? The changes are in?
That is a great question. I do not know that answer at the top of my head, but we could provide that afterwards in the community.
Yep, we'll follow up with that specifically. Awesome. Well, I thank you for your time here and all the information you shared with us, and we'll see you next time on the road ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, let's get right into Sajad talking about the Geotab Data Connector and the exceptions page. Let's welcome Sajad with a virtual round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for being here. I'll leave it to you.
Yep. I will be sharing my screen. We'll go from there. Okay, we've got some exciting updates to share here. So, folks, please stick around to the end of this. Let's start with the new exceptions page. So under beta, and hopefully soon it will be more generally available. So you can feel free to switch that on. I will go through the details here. So, with the exceptions page, if you already sort of have access to the older version, let's call it, this was a page that we had a number of issues that we had heard from customers around slow loading times. The event timestamps were tied to the requester's time zone as opposed to the device or the driver's time zone. Sort of the design, the usability of it was outdated, and video needed to be natively incorporated as well. This is a very popular page, hundreds of thousands of visits per month. So we do know that the rules engine is a very popular functionality in MyGeotab, and that exceptions is where you get that information on when and where and who these rules are being broken. So with the new exceptions page, which is currently under beta, we have enhanced many of these issues. So right now it's super fast. So we have entirely changed the backend on how the data is aggregated. So the performance, even for very large databases of thousands of devices, should be very snappy and fast. So as an example, if a load time was 4 minutes sometimes for a database with thousands of devices, now it's down to 3 seconds, right? So things have improved quite a bit from a performance standpoint. Another major enhancement there that I will showcase in a moment here is timestamps are now presented according to the asset or driver's timestamp. So it's not the requester anymore. It's the asset or driver. This has been a major request as well, where now it creates consistency regardless of the person who's pulling the data, where they reside. The data will be consistent, and our customers and you folks can have a better idea of like exactly when that's happening and with the correct time zone and everything. Design is clean and modern. That has been updated as well. And then the foundation has been built to sort of natively integrate video, and that I know that is coming soon as well. So as I said, it's currently under the beta feature. So if you know how to access the beta feature, under options on the top right, options of your MyGeotab instance, you go under beta features, which is this tab, and then you need to click this on, right? So you need to switch this on, and this is based on the user. So every user would need to do that themselves. You click on and then you save, and then you will see the new exceptions page. Have in mind that you always have the option to go back to the old page if you like by switching it off. But till this point, we have seen less than 1% of our customers switch back to the old page. So this looks like it's being received very well. Just as a bit of a demo of what this is, so exceptions page. So as you can see, when I clicked on the exceptions page, load times are super fast. You have all the right filters on top. You can switch between assets and drivers. And then obviously you have the option to pick and select the rules and assets as you wish. So the data is aggregated here by the type of exception. When you click on it, it will take you to the assets in this case, which those exceptions have happened. And as you can see here, all the different events are presented. So you can see that time zone there, right? So American New York in this case, and it has the timestamp there for all the different events. One thing that is available today and is being enhanced very soon, I would say within weeks, would be this view, right? So when you click on that specific event, it takes you to the event details. But the idea is that very soon we will have this view here where instead of going to another page to see the details of that specific event, you will have access to the side panel that pops up, and you'll see the video, the location, and any other relevant information to that. And then again, like video is being natively integrated as well, so be able to have access to the right filters to be able to see videos directly from this exceptions page. So I know this is coming very soon now. Just a couple of notes around time zones. So I talked about, okay, how these events are now in local time zones, but when the data is aggregated, right, when the data is added together, then the question becomes, okay, which time zone are you using to tell me that this asset, for example, had 7 hours of speeding exceptions, for example? So what are you basing that aggregation off of? So the way that this would work now is that all the events are recorded in their local time zone. So when they're recorded in their local time zone, it doesn't matter which time zone the user is in. What matters is the date that you select. So March 2nd, obviously in terms of time, could be different in the Eastern time zone versus the Pacific time zone. As time-wise, it could be different. But as long as it's March 2nd, for example, and we're counting or calculating those speeding exceptions. So if there's like 10 speeding exceptions, for example, in the Eastern time zone and maybe 20 in the Pacific, we add those up as long as the date in each of those time zones is March 2nd. So in this case, let's say there was a 4-hour speeding event during the Eastern time zone, a 3-hour speeding during the Pacific time zone. If you select March 2nd, we don't care where you're from, like which time zone you're pulling this data from. As long as the date is March 2nd, we're going to pull that data and we're going to add them up. So in this case, it's going to be 7 hours. So this gives a lot more consistency in terms of the data that you receive. There are some implications to be aware of. So in order to be able to make the performance much more snappy and faster, there has been some minor changes to some of these relative date ranges, the pre-baked ones that you can select from. So for example, this week, this month, or some of these other ones, it will exclude today by default, but it doesn't mean you can't pick today. You can go and sort of pick wherever duration you want, but by default, it will exclude the today's date in these date ranges. There are a few, again, based on these changes, you might have questions or you might want to sort of read upon that. if you go to, and this is a bit of a, I guess, a secret, I guess. I didn't know this to recently as well, where if you're on a specific page in MyGeotab, if you click that little question mark on that page, it will actually have a pop-up on the right that will show relevant content related to that. So it's a bit of a help guide there. So on the exceptions page, for example, if you click on that little question mark icon on the banner, which I've sort of highlighted here, you can see the exceptions beta user guide. So just click on that. The user guide explains some of these issues that some of these things that I just went through. I don't know, Ishi, if we want to do like a round of questions here, or should I go all the way to the data connector and then do a round of questions? Up to you.
I think based on the questions I think it's good. It's a good opportunity to ask some questions about the exceptions page.
Sure.
So somebody was asking if there's a way to like enable this in bulk for like all of their users, to enable the beta page in bulk for all their users.
Good question. We're sort of plugging into the existing sort of beta mechanism that MyGeotab has. I am not aware of any sort of ways to be able to sort of do that bulk. So each user sort of needs to do that themselves.
Yeah, this might be good feedback to give to the Feedback Hub, Kristen. I think it's an interesting idea also.
Yeah, agreed.
And let's see. So somebody is also asking, why, you kind of touched on this a little bit with the date ranges, but why is the page defaulting to yesterday rather than today? Is this just load times, to impact the load times?
Yeah, it is. Like the load times is a big factor related to that, right? Because as I said, in order to be able to, there's a lot of exceptions, right? There's hundreds of thousands of these exceptions, especially with the larger fleet that gets created. We are thinking about adding a bit of like an option there, so you can set your own default if you want, but by default at the moment, because we pre-aggregate the data previously, so we're sort of bound to, in order to be able to be performant, we default to yesterday in order to pull the data from those pre-aggregate data. But if we pick today and that's going to be the default, then we're going to run into the same issues of like the performance issues. Just the amount of data is so much. But we are sort of thinking about adding an option there where if you really want to pick your own default, we can allow you to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that. And this is kind of, this may be more broadly, but this comes up often where people ask, how long does it take for when something goes into beta till it actually becomes a native feature? Maybe you can speak specifically to this, or maybe just a general information about that process at Geotab.
Absolutely. That's a great question. It really depends on the feature, right? The reason why we have this beta program is that to be as least disruptive as possible to what you folks are used to, right? The plane is flying and we're sort of trying to change parts as it's flying. So we need to be careful and cognizant that we have heard your feedback that things just change on the fly and we're not aware of it. It's not gradual. And sometimes you might even have feedback, right? So we want to maybe push a new feature out. And based on our understanding, we believe that that's going to help you, but we then realize, oh, maybe we forgot this edge case and you folks give us that feedback. So we don't want to do that to you by sort of making that change entirely and suddenly on your databases, rather going through a beta phase. Now, the question of, okay, when does it graduate out of beta really depends on the feature and depends on these metrics. So in the background, we're actually tracking that. So in the case of this exceptions, it's working very well, right? It's working exceptionally well, no pun intended there. So we have right now, like the number of like churn or number of people that are actually switching it back off again is very, very low. We're seeing good engagement, usage, all this data, and I'm contacting the customers that are switching it off and asking like, why did you do that? What's not working? And we're addressing bugs as we're going. So things are looking very promising. So very soon, I'm thinking about, especially when we have that little side panel pop up for that event, we will graduate into a general availability. So that gives you a bit of an idea of like, I can't give you an exact date of like, for every feature after 3 months, things are going to be generally available. No, it really depends on the feature, how it performs, what kind of feedback we receive.
Awesome. I think that was great. I hope that helped clue you all into some of the, how why we do these beta features at Geotab. I'm going to table the rest of these questions to follow up with, and we can jump into Data Connector now. Thanks, John.
Awesome. Yep. And yeah, feel free to always contact me as well if you have any sort of further questions or comments. Always happy to discuss. So Data Connector. So with Data Connector, I just want to make sure like my slides are moving forward. Is that the case, Ishi? Like for me, it's sort of, it feels like it's frozen now.
Yep, looks good. We're on quick reminder on data.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. So quick reminder on Data Connector. So I know some of you might not be aware of what Data Connector is. Data Connector is just this really simple way of connecting a lot of the aggregated, curated, really cleaned up data from MyGeotab and just pull that into a BI tool like Power BI or Tableau or any other BI tool that supports a protocol called OData. That's what it is. So very simply put, MyGeotab might not be the only place that you want data to reside. You want to build your own dashboards. Maybe you have some kind of BI system in your own organization and you want to plug that data in, right? If you want to do that on your own, it's a very tedious process, right? Because you need to know how to handle, first of all, you need to be able to pull that data, raw data into a storage environment, into a data warehouse, do all sorts of sort of analytics on it, create those data pipelines, and then be able to pull that data now into the BI tool. So all that process with Data Connector is taken care of, and you can pull that data very easily into your BI tool. So with Data Connector, one of the good things is that previously it was just something that you had to go and find in the marketplace and install it. Maybe it was a bit hidden, but right now on your side nav in MyGeotab under reports, you will see something called Data Connector. And then if you have it installed, this page will look unlocked, right? So you will see the access URL, you can see that, but if it's not installed, you will see a button there that's called Install on Marketplace. But you still have access to viewing the step-by-step video guide. Further down, if you scroll down, I don't have it available here. There's a template gallery you can look at. There's all sorts of user guides and learn more videos here to learn more about it. So you have access to all this information before you even subscribe to the Data Connector. But once you decide, you can click on this marketplace link. It will take you to the marketplace, and from then on, you just click through and install the Data Connector. So with the Data Connector, this new page we have, this was the thing that I was talking about, you will have a nice template gallery. So the template gallery, what is it? So with Data Connector, as I said, it's a connection to BI tools, and BI tools typically have dashboards, right? And you have the option to just take Data Connector, and if you have the resources, to just go and build whatever views that you want, right? That's one way to use it. Another way to use Data Connector is just very simply go to our template gallery, which will always continue to add more templates to it. Download the template based on the BI tool that you use. We support, there's 3 at the moment, 3 types of templates there, Power BI, Tableau, and Excel. And then you can download that, and then just few steps, you can get things up and running. So pretty fast way of getting access to the Data Connector itself. So just so you know, so you can see like, just so you know how that works. So Data Connector here, this is just a 2-minute video. You click on that. This is assuming that Data Connector is installed. You copy your access URL here. You download the template. So look at the template gallery. You look at the templates that you are interested in. You download it. In your browser, you're going to see that downloaded template in your downloads. You go to the BI tool. In this case, it's Power BI, get data. As I said, it's following an OData feed. I just want to show like this is not an educational video. Like you have access to this in MyGeotab as well, but I just want to show you how simple it is, right? So you can go to the OData feed and you just do this once, right? You don't need to do this every single time. You put in that access URL that we just talked about. Click OK. Close the navigator. You go to File. And just set up the data source settings here. So with the data source settings, you just want to set the global permission so everything's set. So every time you don't need to come back and make these changes. Fairly straightforward. And again, in the data connector page itself, you have a clickable demo. It's not even a video. It's like an actual clickable demo that will walk you through all those steps. You need to worry about sort of remembering these steps. But the whole point of this is just to showcase that you make the connection, you add your username, your MyGeotab password, and then once you're set up, you refresh this dashboard, and everything is just populating within minutes. So very, very straightforward way of getting up and running, especially if you're using our templates. It's literally minutes to get things up and running. Moving along here, a bunch of updates. So the folks that have been following Data Connector, we have been very focused on vehicle KPIs to this point. A number of new metrics have been added, like after hours, work distance. Definitely check out the schema. Lots and lots of changes there. We had some issues previously with the data not matching MyGeotab. So we had some issues around why does there like slight discrepancies in mileage, or I'm happy to announce that there's like one-to-one mapping there, and there should not be any sort of discrepancy there. One change for the folks that have been using Data Connector is that hourly table has now been removed. We used to have an hourly. It doesn't align very well with MyGeotab and how things are set up there, so we just got rid of it. So the data is aggregated down to the daily level. So you would have access to, let's say, asset A drove 20 miles on this date. That is the smallest sort of level of aggregation that happens. The aggregation isn't at the fleet level. It's at the asset or the driver level. So pretty granular, right? So at the daily level, you can see the data and the metrics. We have new maintenance insights that are available. So all the DTC codes, the diagnostic trouble codes. This is a massive update to the data connector, and that is also available in the schema. There's also a severity metric related to these faults as well. This is coming within weeks as well. So very soon we will have the severity added to the faults. Another update that we have to the data connector is a new driver metric. So again, with data connector, it's very vehicle focused previously. Now you have all sorts of driver data, driver metadata, driver grouping, names, many of the productivity metrics, many of the usage metrics. So all of these are also available via the data connector as well. Another data set that we previously had, which was the vehicle-based predictive safety analytics. So that is the risk score, that is the benchmarking that happens for your fleet, and all of that good stuff that you can see on the risk analytics page. This is also available via the data connector. So previously we had the asset-based, now you also have access to the driver-based data as well. Yes, the DTC fault data, as I said, the fault data, this is an upgraded version of the fault information, which takes into account the ignition cycles. So previously, this wasn't the case, right? So when you look at the raw data of faults, depending on how many times the vehicle ignites, you could have that fault just show up many, many times throughout the day. And that's really not a good representation of which vehicle really has the most issues. So all of that is smoothed out. We identify the ignition cycle, and the data is much more cleaner now. We do have, again, in the template gallery, definitely check that out. We have a new template there, one of these pre-baked templates where you can download, and once you make the connection, all of this data is available to you, like how many unique assets have the faults, and you can sort of drill down all the way from high-level stats to the actual events that are happening. There's also a bit of a Gantt chart there that shows you which vehicles and what durations of time had which faults active. So pretty cool template there. These templates are always open to be modified as you wish as well. Nothing is locked, right? So if you wish to maybe make some changes here, you're always welcome to do that. And we don't like lock anything with our templates. You can always change that. Just to be clear, again, with new data sets, we always sort of follows by some new templates as well. So what's coming soon is that we have driver data. So we'll have a new driver template. We're adding severity to maintenance. So we'll have a new severity-based template as well for maintenance. But we continue to just add more data, right? State of health of batteries and range for EVs. We're going to have improved fuel and idle fuel data. We're going to have exceptions aggregates very soon as well. So all of that data, the team let me know that the data is available, and they're just doing some final tests on it. So very soon you will have asset-based and driver-based exceptions data come in as well. We will continue to build new templates. We will continue to add more data as it becomes available. Just to be clear, this is not sort of your typical API where it's pulling raw data. We need to do lots of aggregations and curation of the data in the backend to make sure that we're doing the heavy lifting on our side and we make those tables available. So we continuously continue to add more and more data to the data connector. I have my email here on the screen as well, so feel free to take my email and contact me if you have any questions about any of these areas related to reporting, exceptions that I just talked about, data connector or Geotab ACE as well. So Geotab ACE is also under my purview, so feel free to contact me if you have any questions about any of these areas. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and we're happy to take any questions here.
Well, thank you for that very thorough demo and all the information you shared today. We did have a lot of questions, so feel free to continue putting these questions in the chat. This is our last section. I'll try to get through as many of these as possible, but we'll definitely be following up with the answers. I actually had one question about the exceptions page that I wanted to go back to for 1 second that I was really interested in. You're talking about performance changes, and are there or are there plans to be performance upgrades to the reprocessing of exception rules?
Great question there around reprocessing. So at the moment, if you do reprocess the data, the data will reflect that in the exceptions page up to 30 days. So up to 30 days, if you reprocess, it will show. But I think very soon, within a week or so, we will support up to 13 months that MyGeotab also supports in the UI to do the reprocessing, and then we will reflect that. The only thing just to have in mind is that depending on how long of a duration you pick to do reprocess, it may take a day or two for that to reflect, right? Because all of that data needs to go back, all of that data needs to be generated, aggregated, and then showing up again. So the expectation there shouldn't be that it should be immediately available, but it may take a day or two depending on how much data you reprocess to show up.
Awesome, thanks. All right, so we will continue with Data Connector. So there was a lot of people that asked about, pricing, about Data Connector. Please reach out to, Pam's BDMs about this information. And then the question that everybody had was, is there an additional cost associated with Data Connector? That is, yes, there is an additional cost associated with it, but please reach out to whoever you buy Geotab from, and you should be able to get pricing information from them. Say that. All right, and so as far as what all Data Connector is able to connect to, can it connect to Looker? And are there any other details about like what all software that can connect to that you can maybe speak on?
Good question there. So the Data Connector is, you can almost, you can even treat it as like a REST API, right? That you could even treat it as that. So if you have some mechanism, I don't know if you're using like Postman, for example, and you want to use that as an API to just pull data, you can do that, right? It's just tuned towards a protocol called OData in order to make it easier to connect to some of these BI tools. Now, Looker specifically, Looker is SQL based, right? So Looker needs to sit on a SQL database and you query that and queries that directly. So unless you're pulling that data from the data connector into another environment, which sort of Looker sits on top, you can't use that directly. I don't know if there's any connectors, like third-party connectors that are available that would take care of some of that, but the mechanism is just entirely different from sort of how an API or a connector would work. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that information. That's good to know. And feel free to reach out with any other questions you guys have about any follow-up questions. We'll be happy to answer those in the community. So if you were using a template with data that was sorted hourly, is this going to stop working now?
It wouldn't stop working, right? So if you already had that sort of template, that part of the template wouldn't work anymore, right? Because it's not populating, that table isn't populating anymore. So what I would always suggest is like go to that MyGeotab page, the data connector page, always download the latest and greatest template there that would have the most update. I don't think there's going to be any changes to this one. We sort of went through a bit of a change in order to make sure that things match MyGeotab and everything, but things should have stabilized by now. So yeah, please go to that page, download the latest, and that way you can ensure the best performance.
Awesome. All right, so I have a couple more questions we'll try to get through. I won't keep you guys too much longer. But there was questions about using Data Connector for like MyAdmin. Are there any plans to like do something like that, like to be able to pull data from there?
That's an interesting question. It depends on like the metrics that you want to show there. I think this could be a good feed if you do have access to the MyAdmin folks, or if you want to put that as a feedback in the community page so someone from MyAdmin can see. We can always coordinate on our side and see like if there's something that we could do there to be able to expose the data that you want through the data connector mechanism. So yeah, I mean that's an interesting question, and I think you should raise it, but it's sort of outside of my scope because I need them to sort of figure out like what data they want, and then we can sort of work together to get that data populated.
Cool, awesome. Well, yeah, give that feedback to our feedback hub if you want to see that, and yeah, we'll follow up with you. All right. So speaking about, the data connector and all the it's reflecting all the data in your database, does it show all the data from even, say 5 years back that you have in MyGeotab?
Good question. So the vehicle depends on the table. So vehicle KPIs, and this is all available in the guide as well. The vehicle KPIs, you can go all the way back to 2021. Some of the more recent metrics, like some of the safety metrics, as you know, those are fairly new around like benchmarking and predictive safety analytics and whatnot. Like those are would be limited to maybe a year or two. So depending on the which table you're accessing, the range could vary.
Okay. And Henry, on that, if you maybe have specific questions about specific data, maybe you can reach out to the community and we can, give you the answers to those specifically also. All right, so I'll just do one or two more and then I'll let you guys get out of here. So thinking about, can the data connector be utilized with OEM connected vehicles, that data that's in MyGeotab, or maybe other third-party asset trackers or, yeah.
So asset trackers, no, we don't support that data in Data Connector because the type of data that's coming in is just not, it doesn't fit with anywhere within the schema, right? So if you do have third-party devices though, tracking devices, we do support that. Like as long as the data is coming in, there's nothing sort of preventing us from being able to show that. The limitation is more on the device side of things, or whether or not that data is being collected or not.
Okay, so OEMs should be good also, OEM data.
Correct. There's nothing preventing us. It's just the quality of the data that you get from the OEM depends on the OEM side of things, right? If some of the data is not populating, that's not up to us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I appreciate all the information today. I appreciate you giving us this thorough demo, and thank you for everything you've done. Your presentation. All right.
No problem.
Well, everybody, that comes to our end of our session today. You will get a follow-up email with a link to the recording and the presentations today. Feel free, reach out with any questions that you have. You're thinking about this, later, ask our community any questions that you may have. And we look forward to seeing you in the next Road Ahead in July. You'll get a registration email for that as well. Have a great day, everybody.